honest.
Inside Israel, the Hamas terror attacks and the government response have sharpened the country's already intense political divisions, and many people heap blame on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for what's happening. Ramy Inocencio is following this part of the story. Ramy, good morning.
Good morning. In a new poll by an Israeli news station, 76% of Israelis, that's 3 out of 4 people, say Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should resign, blaming him for the security failures of October 7th.
Angry protesters paid Israel's prime minister a home visit, chanting, "Jail now," echoing cries across the country.
He has to resign.
He's lying again and again and again and again.
Moshe Radman leads anti-Netanyahu protests.
A leader needs to think 100% about our soldiers and our country and 0% about himself. And this is for sure not Netanyahu.
Anger has snowballed against him for striking down the Supreme Court's independence this year, for corruption charges from 2016, and for billing himself as Mr. Security in political campaigns, saying he would take care of Israel's children. Now, more than 3 dozen of those children are believed to be among the hostages held by Hamas. October 7th is Israel's biggest security failure in 50 years. The prime minister has not apologized.
Why has he not taken responsibility?
He doesn't want to have anything on record saying he has responsibility for anything.
Tal Schneider is political correspondent for the Times of Israel.
He has followers, a base of loyalists. And Netanyahu, as a prime minister, was compared to President Trump. Netanyahu is much more sophisticated.
But even still, Netanyahu may not be able to survive this time.
Our country deserves better. Our people deserve better. Enough.
Netanyahu has avoided taking any responsibility for the security failures of October 7th, but he has said that he is responsible for winning the war. He says there will be a time and place for an investigation and blame, but now is not that time. Tony.
Ramy, thank you very much.
Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. You know, I've said here on some of the shows we've done on Gaza, I always believed that Netanyahu knew that the Hamas was about to attack. He should have known about the attack. This is what these people are accusing him of, having knowledge of it or not protecting them, because he's famous for protecting Israel with the Mossad and everything else. And we see here that I always thought that he knew about it and let it happen, so he could start this rage that he's going on, 42 days now? And I saw on Democracy Now! All the damage that he's done to the buildings. They had photos or a special radar display on Democracy Now! Showing the devastation. Now we know of, I think last I heard, it was 11,000 people. I'm sure there are more by now, and 4,000 of those were children. But on the main media, you see all the questions about what Hamas has done to the Israelis, and nothing about the damages to displacing, 1.5 million people? 1.5 million people don't have homes or a place to go, water or food to drink, food to eat. Now, what about these people? What happens at the end of the pause, or the 5-day ceasefire they approved of today? So response from Michelle?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
It's 4 days. It's a 4-day ceasefire to allow aid and to release the hostages. It's 4 days.
4 days. All right. Well, thank you. This is Michelle Gilchrist, Gilchrist Lugo. And today's her birthday.
Woo! Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! Happy birthday to you. Now, we'll have moments later.
Amen.
So give us your response to what I have to say about Netanyahu.
So as I was watching the clip, what has happened to Israel due to the hands of Hamas are terrible, right? The kidnappings, the killings, whatever the reasons for the organization Hamas to do what they did, there is no excuse for the bloodshed that happened. Now, as far as Netanyahu knowing, right, there should be a thorough investigation to why an attack of that magnitude with all the advanced technology they have, especially the science they have, surveillance they have of that region occurred. But we also should also condemn the bloodshed that is happening in Palestine. Violence on either side is wrong. And we're saying, right, there needs to be a ceasefire, not just for 5 days, just not for 4 days, period. There's no reason why people need to die on such a large scale, why buildings need to be burnt down. Just as Israel is calling for a new government, I am also calling for a new government to happen. We know that only real out of the whole world, 2 nations subscribed and got behind Israel. That's America and Canada. We know that America is funding the war in the Middle East. Many of us are calling it a genocide, looking for Hamas. But however, as I conclude my last point, one of the biggest tools that Israel has to protest against the work of Netanyahu is the protest. And without the protest, how do we get change? And I only bring that up to say that Donald Trump is ahead in the polls here in America. And if Donald Trump gets into office, he is threatening to enact the Insurrection Act, which would allow him to use the military. Let me finish. Use the military to stop protests. So we have to think about all of that.
That's an imaginary vision. That's not going to happen. I forecast. I demand.
Oh, you're putting that in the atmosphere. You're putting that in the atmosphere.
I put a halt.
Yes, yeah, we put a halt on that. But what I am saying, is that the protest is a powerful weapon.
What do you think about that?
Well, Gaza, as I stated last week, is rich in oil and natural gas.
Yeah.
And that's what this is really about.
That's it. Tell the story.
You got to look at the players and you got to follow the money.
That's it.
This land was owned by the Ottoman Empire prior to the end of World War I. The British seized control of it and they decided that they were going to give the land to Israel by the end of the Second World War. People were displaced, their land was taken from them, and I have friends from Gaza that I've known for 25 years, and they might as well be in apartheid South Africa because it's the same system. They say abused people become abusers, and it's disheartening to see how the Israelis were treated by the Nazis and how they treat the people of Palestine. This is their land. It's not the land of the Jews. It's the land of the Palestinians. It's not the land of the Jews. It's the land of the Israelites, which is why they took offense to these people coming in from Europe after the close of the Second World War. I talked with rabbis who lived in Palestine before the state of Israel was established, one of which was in his 90s at the time that we spoke. And he left Palestine
you talked about that
when Israel was established. But looking at the money.
Update us, Graham.
Yes,
what's going to happen today?
You have oil companies, BP Oil, which was involved in ripping off the Persians and destabilizing the government of Persia back in the late 40s and early 50s. And they did that with the CIA. And they are also sitting in the wings waiting to get a part of the booty in the oil and the gas.
So how do we stop it?
So,
how do we stop it?
Netanyahu, and the bombing has to stop, period. Not for 4 days, it has to stop. They are destroying every possible building they can destroy. And another thing, the Israelis have a program called the Pegasus program. That program surveils all telecommunications. They have that program running in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates. And when I was there 4 years ago, I drove past the building where the Israelis have the Pegasus program monitoring all cell phone activity for the government of the United Arab Emirates. So if they didn't know that this was coming up, that Hamas was preparing to do this, and they have that technology, something, in my opinion, was just ignored. Netanyahu, remember, he's facing jail time. He needed something
Graham,
to make him look good in the eyes of people as well.
This video that we watched, people were protesting. People know that he knew about this. His own people were protesting him for 9, 10 months. So everybody knows he knew what was happening. So we're giving people now the information as it's passed. But the people in Israel know everything that's going on. But why aren't they putting a stop to this? I mean, we don't hear about it. I'm sure they're trying their hardest to do that. But what I'm concerned with is how it's affecting us here in America. Now I got mad at Biden myself when he first went there. I thought he was going to make peace. I thought he was going to say, Netanyahu, you're not going to get another nickel from us until you stop this onslaught. But no, we have the Republican Party saying here, and America, and we know what Trump's going to do if he gets into office. But Netanyahu and Trump are buddies with Putin involved. So here we've got a problem here that we as Americans need to pay attention to. That's why I'm spending so much time on this, trying to explain what's happening, how Biden is being given a rope of dope here. And they're telling him, they're feeding him lies that he's repeating. Now, we've got to get to Biden and tell him what's going on. So what we're saying here gets to open ears, so I just want to express the truth and get everybody's opinion. Leroy hasn't said a word. What do you think, Leroy? And Michelle?
We have to stand on truth, and the accusation or the charge that this guy knew about it has to have a foundation to that. And Graham offered the fact that he saw this monitoring station. He saw one of them. He didn't see the things that's up there in the sky.
Oh, drones and the satellites.
Israelis, the Mossad is famous for being the CIA of the planet, the best CIA on the planet.
Well,
the Mossad, Israeli CIA.
Dick Gregory, in an interview that I had with him, said that we give the Mossad too much credit. That the guys that are here, they're the masters of that stuff, but really it's the English who are the masters of it, the British. But here's
MI6.
I'm sorry.
He said MI6.
MI6.
The British.
Yes.
The British. Yes.
Yes. The thing that sticks. Dick Gregory says, look, he says when a major event takes place, he said get the first editions of the paper, whatever paper you're reading, the daily papers. He said get that first, and that before they have a chance to change the narrative. See, the second and the third day, the narratives tend to blend in, and you don't see the differences that was indicated in the different issues of the paper in the first papers in the first day of the event. He also said, look at what the event moves off the front pages. Having said that, I don't have anything to point in those directions, but what I found questionable is the 30 heads, the 40 heads of these children supposed to be chopped off.
Think that's a lie?
Well, that's the first story that was out there. And that was the first lie that was out there. That was out immediately. That they had the Hamas had cut off the heads of these babies. And the story was subsequently tracked down to a guy from a kibbutz. He had created the story, gave it to a female reporter, and she in turn spread it, and it's out there. What's important about that is a show that I saw, I don't even know the name of it, but the guy called it vengeful propaganda, because it sets up a situation where the viewers, the targets of the propaganda, believe that the individuals did something so evil that it requires the same type of retribution, which is what they're doing now. They're bombing the whole, the northern part, now they move into the southern part. The point is genocide, but people are not saying it. We're not saying it. Some of us are saying it, but the majority of our people really don't understand. And also, the news reports that you're able to lift off is from Israel. It's not from the reporters who have being killed right now. I think it's 40.
Reporters.
Up to 40 that they're targeting. These are not people walking down the street and the bomb goes off 3 blocks away.
Palestinian reporters that killed.
They're taking them out.
And Israeli.
Taking not only them out, they're taking their families out. It is a teachable moment for black folks. Because when you look at Netanyahu, you have to look at the spirit of an individual who's reflecting the same spirit that was used on the Jews in Germany. I mean, how can you do to someone what happened to your people?
Well, look at who we're talking about. Netanyahu I call him a demon, because nobody with a demonic mind could do what he did. I mean, the way he slaughtered all these people and blamed it on what? Something he let happen? Look at the reality of it all. What is Middle America, who's not New York anymore? My daughter, Michelle, you're out there in Mid-America. How much of this stuff do you hear out there? What are they saying in Denver, Colorado?
Well, we're in a global society, so the same thing that's being said in Denver, Colorado is being said throughout the rest of the country. Everybody is, like you said, the media is recently that they're stopping TikTok and Instagram from the media that they're putting out there because they feel like it's too pro-Palestinian, and the younger viewers and the younger people all get their news, every bit of information from Instagram and TikTok. So whatever goes through on TikTok is what they're following.
Okay, that's the youth. That's who we need to reach.
Yeah, that's the youth. But the thing is that but social media follows a person's algorithm. So for example, if I'm always looking up pro-Trump stuff, all the information I get is going to support that because the algorithm knows exactly what I'm interested in. So for the people looking at the information, they're always getting fed information that supports their belief system. So they're not getting information from both sides.
So that's AI in action?
So
it's an algorithm. I mean, whatever I click on, they know that's what I like. So they keep sending me stuff that I like.
Okay.
They use it for marketing and they use it for information. So I get a lot of, I purposely go to different sites so that I can mess up the algorithm so I can get different information. But you will get exactly which supports a person's belief system.
That's real.
That's why they said that social media has polarized America more than anything because of the algorithms, for where people in the Midwest who maybe subscribe to the far right sort of ideologies on their social media, that's what's being flooded, right? So a lot of the lies, a lot of the propaganda, they are saying that stuff because that's all they see all day. So it has increased the amount of racism and separatism and the polarization in the United States. A lot of the things that I just want to get back to the state of Palestine. A lot of us don't understand that Palestine as a land is incontiguous. They don't have so much of domain between their land. There's checkpoints. So the sort of surveillance that Israeli government has over the Palestinian territories is absolute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to understand that, as you say, Netanyahu didn't know is kind of bizarre. But we also know that the Suez Canal is over there, and the Suez Canal is really important because it goes back to what Graham was saying, that there's billions of dollars in oil that are being generated from that region. So a lot of this points to greed and capitalism. And a lot of people don't understand, well, why does that, what is happening over there, bother us? And maybe Graham could also speak to this. I understand that our police are being trained by Israeli forces.
Is that right?
So the same people beating us up on the street are being trained by, and I'm not saying anything against the nation of Israel and the way they train, but our police are being trained to do so there's a direct connection. Not only do we feed billions of dollars into the machine that is Israel, they also send things to us.
They've noted to spy on us too. Graham?
Yeah. Yeah, they were caught doing that years ago.
Yeah.
At one point, they got a third of our foreign aid budget. One country. But you know what? There are children starving to death right now in the Congo.
Oh, God, don't talk about that. Oh.
There are people starving in Africa.
Oh, God, don't talk about that.
We have, and you're not going to see this on CNN. You're not going to see it on MSNBC, ABC, NBC. You have to understand that color determines the place.
Yeah.
And African children have been dying for years in the Congo, and there was no coverage, and there will be no coverage. That's why a network like Al Jazeera, you've got to watch the British networks to see what they are reporting, because the Americans are not going to give you the full story. You don't get world news in this country. You get news about Israel right now. That's all they're talking about. And they might say something about China. They're not saying anything about anybody else. They're not even talking about Ukraine for the most part.
Well,
but here we have hundreds of thousands of black children starving in the Congo, in South Sudan, and no one's talked about that. No one's talked about the sanctions that were leveled by the United Nations against Israel over the last 10, 15 years. And the Israelis totally disregard the UN sanctions.
Yeah.
But Winston, I've been to your house many times.
Yeah, we did.
Have I ever come to your house and disrespected your wife, defecated on the couch, urinated on your bed, tore up the furniture? And if I did, would you allow me to simply do that?
If you pull your gun out. You carry a gun. I mean, I might have, Bev, what do you say to that? Bev might have something to say.
This is what has happened. This is what has happened to the Palestinians. The Israelis came in there and took their stuff.
Yeah.
Ran roughshod over everything they had, put them out, built new settlements and ran them out.
Yeah.
They've even gone as far as to tear out, uproot the olive trees that the Palestinians had and carry them across the fence and replant them for their aggrandizement. Now, you turn around and call them a terrorist when you're the one that came and invaded their land and took their land.
Yeah.
You call them a terrorist. See, and we've got to watch this European doublespeak. The terrorist was the European, not the Middle Easterner. The European mindset is about only the strong survive. It's about the have and the have-nots. They have no sense of community. They have a sense of nationalism, but not a sense of community. And the Caucasians are some of the dangerous people on the planet. I don't care what anybody says, the truth is the truth.
Yeah.
Pastor Bernard says truth is confrontational.
Yeah.
And we got to start looking at these people and what they're about, because anything non-white in their mindset is expendable. But anything white has the most value, even the child. They have killed so many thousands of children. And how do you think you're going to get your hostages back when you're dropping bombs all over the place?
Mm-hmm.
Invariably, you're going to wind up killing some of your own hostages. And then you're
And
going to blame Hamas.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you'll be blaming Hamas for the death of the hostages.
They already have.
It's ridiculous.
They're saying that Hamas is using their civilians as shields.
Human shields.
Human shields.
Michelle?
But you cannot fault the people of Gaza for being victimized by Hamas and the Israelis.
Yeah.
They're being victimized by both groups, of which neither is any good.
Yeah.
Because they're both about killing people.
All right. I want to bring up a spiritual note and understand that, children are blessings from God. And if they're not, which is what they claim is happening to their own. And they're doing double, triple. Vengeful. It's overwhelming to me. I'm sure it is to everybody else, but the amount of children that have been killed, Palestinian children. I mean, I recommend you watch Democracy Now! It comes on at 8 o'clock on channel 34 here at MNN. And free speech programs, they give you the truth. Democracy Now! Is particularly on point, they always have been for years.
Amy Goodwin is fantastic.
Oh,
she's a wonderful woman. I've known her for many years.
You should have seen them this morning. This morning, it was fantastic. What they showed, the bombing and the effect of displacing 1.5 million people. And it was crowded place, the most crowded occupied space on the planet before the bombing. Now, where do 1.6 million people go without water or food? And that's just thinking now, after a month and a half, start feeding them. And how many people have died? Surely more than 11,000 reported. This is a disaster. But we'll come back to this. I want to go to something a little spiritual, the Kabbalion, which we need to talk about, because it's the knowledge passed on to us, which we as people of color have to understand and bring back some sanity to the planet. Let's roll in item 3. This is something I did years ago, and introducing you to the Kabbalion, done by 3 initiates. Steps. By this time I'm 6'2".
Yes.
And I looked at the steps. Oh, it's not so big. I mean, this is oh, and all that early beginnings came out of me. I mean, it was like I was in the Corps, I was a grown man, and those were childish things to me.
Yes, yes.
But I roamed the planet for like 40 years before I went back to church.
Really? Mm-hmm.
And then when I went back to church, I got that same feeling of when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was coming back home,
Mm-hmm.
and it was an awesome experience.
Yes.
Because I took my camera and then I caught the spirit in the camera.
Yes, yes.
And I've been videotaping since.
Yes.
I thought God had called me to videotape spiritual energy in the church, and spread. That's my way of testifying,
Yes,
or spreading God's word.
yes, yes.
And this, I think, is a calling for all of us, especially as black people. Because there's something very important I think we need to understand, our spiritual level. And it's a whole idea of what you have in your mind mentally. And we'll get to the Kabbalion and all these principles. This is what I'm leading up to.
Yes, yes.
all right, about the whole spiritual nature of the Kabbalion. And we have a book here. I don't know if we can get it on camera. We'll take it on this one here. This is the Kabbalion as Hermetic philosophy. We're talking about the ancient Egyptians. Taking you back a couple of years.
Tell me about it.
We're talking about Hermetic philosophy, about Hermes Trismegistus, who was considered a god.
A contemporary of Abraham, supposedly.
But
So it says.
supposedly taught Abraham.
It taught Abraham, yes.
Now, I might mention that all these are black people.
Yes.
Let's make a note of this.
Yes.
That all these people in the Bible are people of color. Can we use that term?
Yes.
People of color?
Yes.
At least they had a suntan. Now, all our learned scholars can testify to this. But what we've been delusioned and, bamboozled and lied to over the centuries about our heritage and our complexion and what we're all about. That inferiority complex that the powers to be have tried to place us in, the Willie Lynch theory, the self-hatred that we as a people bring to ourselves and people around us that we love and care about. And this is our problem. It's not the European problem, it's our problem, our personal problem, how we think mentally. Now, one of the main principles of the Kabbalion, this Hermetic philosophy preached by Hermes Trismegistus in year 3200 BC.
At least.
So we're talking about 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago, I believe the Europeans were still in the caves, okay? Learned scholars out there who can testify to that. Now, I think Hermes Trismegistus, here are the 7 principles of the Kabbalion. Now, let me briefly give them to you. The 7 Hermetic principles upon which the entire Hermetic philosophy is based are as follows. The principle of mentalism. What does that mean? The principle of mentalism. Let's go over that one quickly. The all is mind. The universe is mental. The Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains the all, which is a substantial reality underlying all the outward manifestation and appearances which we know under the terms of the material universe. In other words, God, the all, is mental. This is a mental thought in our mind. This whole reality, what we see as the material universe, is a mental thought. We're a twinkle in the eyes of God. That's an enormous thought, to think that, well, we all know we create our own worlds.
True.
Now give us your credentials and tell us people who you are.
Well, I'm a medical psychologist by training, educated at Stanford.
Come back.
Wow, I didn't know your
the same book
testimony.
you see there, I handed, and you still have it.
It's in good care.
I gave it to Minister Henry McDonald, so I'm sure he's going to give us...
McDonald? Did you call me McDonald's? You didn't do that to me. It's not have it your way. I'm sorry. I don't have no fries. You hear? Old McDonald. Old McDonald.
Can we talk about how young Daddy was?
Oh, he was looking suave, wasn't he?
That's
I
23
was like, who's that
23.
kid?
Oh,
23
man.
years ago.
I thought it was like 35.
I was 60-something. No,
Yeah.
that's 59.
I'm not going to let you go with this McDonald thing, though.
Oh, Mac Henry, I'm sorry. But see, that's the old, see, that was going back to church. I haven't been away from a long time.
I didn't know you had a Holy Ghost experience that you would be talking about. Ooh.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Gilchrist. It means working. Christ
Oh,
servant.
man. I started shaking over here.
Oh, yeah.
Talk
See?
to me. What happened? I want to know about that part of the roll in.
No, you read the book.
Huh? No,
gave
but
you the book.
I didn't read your testimony.
Well, that's obvious.
Okay. All right. All right.
I'm
okay,
guided by
Mr.
God.
Holy
I
Ghost.
told you that every week when I have to look what the Spirit's going to say.
Hello.
Matter of fact, what did the Spirit say to you?
In reference to the Kabbalion, the Kabbalion was written in 1908 by a gentleman named William Atkinson. He was a lawyer from the United States.
It's written by 3 initiates.
No, the 3 initiates are William. His name is William Atkinson. The book was written in 1908. It comprises of many different ideologies, which he renders into the 7 principles that come from the Hermetic teachings and some of it Egyptian, but it also incorporates philosophy of its day in 1908, a lot of psychology studies. The guy was a lawyer. He wrote many books, but the Kabbalion was
He wrote the book.
Yeah, he was one of his many books. He was a lawyer and an author.
Not the 3 initiates.
So the 3 initiates is, right, because he was a part of an initiation, right? So they were into Kabbalism.
What did you get that it is?
Yeah. I did my research on the author.
It's by
Say it again.
ancient Egyptians.
So it encompasses ancient Greek philosophy, hermeneutic sort of philosophy, science. It encompasses what is it? What did I say before? Just many different disciplines that he puts into his 7-step sort of points there. So what did I get from it, right? What did I get from it? He talked a lot about vibrations throughout it. He didn't specify.
It's one of the principles.
It's one of the principles, right? Cause and effect is one of the principles. Gender is one of the principles. There's 7 principles.
I bet you would give us the 7 principles by now.
You want me to give you the 7 principles? Well, I subscribe to a different text, but as I was reading it.
But what was your assignment?
As I was reading it, I felt that some of it was applicable to the way I feel about the way God interacts with me, and some of it was abstract. But I definitely appreciate the thought that was put together by this lawyer. William Atkinson was an American here in 1908, and so
I don't believe that.
You don't, Graham? Can you fact check me about who wrote the Kabbalion? I'm saying his name is William Atkinson.
I just have. Yes, you are correct.
I'm correct.
You are correct.
I'm
online looking at it.
Cha-ching.
You are correct.
I'm not fighting you now.
And
I'm gonna get Beverly on you. Beverly, he's attacking me.
Stop it.
I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing. Come on.
No, stop it.
It's a white man that wrote the book.
I don't believe that.
No,
You're saying that's true?
know, when you
So Graham, he's asking, I'm sorry, before you continue, Graham, he's asking, is what true? What is your question?
3 initiates didn't write the book.
No, it was compiled in the early 1900s.
1908.
I know that.
By this guy, whatever his name
William
is.
Atkinson. He was born in 1832 to 1962, I believe.
Now he compiles Hermetic philosophy, ancient Egyptian law, and other things. This is not just one abstract. And as the sister in the video was talking about something about the mind or the thought.
Yeah, the thought.
You're not just walking around. The mind has power. Jesus said, as a man thinketh, so is he. You don't do anything without having thought about it if you're mature.
God,
People that just respond on the impulse, very unstable. If an architect, the building you're sitting in right now on 104th Street, that was in the mind of an individual 100 years ago called an architect who designed that building. The mind. When all was created by God, he thought about what he wanted to do and he spoke it into being. The mind is what moves the body. Yes, spirit moves the physical world. There is nothing that you can see around you that did not come through the thought process.
Right, mental.
God thinks and God does, and he designed man in the same way. Man thinks and man does, but man don't think right. most of the time.
Right.
And man doesn't do right most of the time. So when you talk about the mind and the thought, that can be very dangerous because there are some sick people out here doing some things that you would never have imagined 10, 15, 20 years ago. So the mind is very much corrupted and very, very ill.
Okay.
So the point that you made, and I'm gonna, there was a point in the video where you were saying that this man taught Abraham, right? Allegedly. And the connection there is through the Quran. I was talking to Brother Leroy here, who is a Muslim expert, that it was written that that he is associated, what's his name? Hermetic, what's his name?
Trismegistus.
Yes, that he is the prophet Idris in the Quran, which predated Abraham. And they're saying because of that, because he grew up between the time of Adam and Noah, that he possibly was the teacher or one of the teachers to Abraham.
It says that in the book.
Huh? Well, that's an affiliation to the fact that he may be also Idris, the same character.
Called by a different name.
Yeah.
So the Hermetic philosophy is by 3 initiates. So this book says, you're giving me somebody compiled all this, these rules together?
William Atkinson, who was a part of the 3 initiates, right? Yes, compiled, just as Graham explained earlier, different traditions from the past, from the hermeneutic sort of past, from Kabbalism, and he put together these 7 principles.
He put these principles together?
Yes, based off his research.
I thought these principles were from Hermetic philosophy.
So he took some information from the Hermetic philosophy and some from the psychiatric studies that were happening during his day, some from Egyptian.
He compiled information together.
Yeah, and put these 7 principles together.
But these 7 principles were made up by who?
So the 7 principles, I don't know if I'm saying it, Graham, maybe you could say it in a way that...
I don't think the 7 principles is the full compilation of Hermeticism. He's picked 7.
It's the full of the book, specifically.
Vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect. And
not of Hermeticism, it's components of Hermeticism.
Okay, so.
All right, these principles, do you think it's a good direction on how we should act and how we should think and say and understand how we operate as human beings?
So
this is my basic principle. I don't want to argue with you anymore about where it comes from.
Okay.
Because you seem to have a little...
these things are aspects of the human personality.
Do, man. You don't do
All right, right now we're corresponding one another. We're having a conversation. That's correspondence.
Conversation is good, back and forth.
To give and to take, you're receiving information, you're giving information.
That's from the agenda.
And that's how we grow. We don't grow in isolation. You have vibration. What is that? Sympathetic resonance. If you have 2 pianos in a room, they're 100 feet apart, and you hit middle C on one piano, the middle C chord will vibrate on the other piano. That is called sympathetic resonance. Why is it that when we see the videos of people in Gaza bombed up and everything, it hurts us? That's sympathetic resonance. There is a vibration that you get from seeing it. There are some people who are sociopaths that have no empathy for other people.
Netanyahu.
It doesn't vibrate in them. All right? And then polarity, you have north and south, you have pro and con. And people talk about all this right wing and left wing and all that foolishness. But you know what? Their eagle only flies with 2 wings. No eagle flies with a right wing or a left wing. The eagle needs both wings in order to fly. And polarity is in science and it's in everything. There's a pro and a con to everything.
The yin and the yang.
Right? Right, the yin and yang. But if it's not
all religions,
balanced, you're going to have
follow the
massive
same
defects.
All religions, see, what I'm covering is trying to say there's one religion, the human religion, being human. And
that's not a religion. That's a physiological
It's a
existence.
philosophy.
That's not spiritual.
The book is actual in that
wanting
way
to be
doesn't
human.
point to religion at all, but it points to, as you're saying, something greater than maybe.
When I say by religion, the fight between the God and the devil and each and every human. It's all comes with the human kit, God and the devil. All right? Michelle, you have anything to say? You still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Anything makes sense to you?
No.
Good
No.
answer.
Because you guys just go back and forth and debate, and I don't have anything to say. I'm just listening.
See, that's who I'm trying to reach. People, I like to put it, maybe you can put it so the youth can understand. We wise men or know-it-alls.
So
and you,
one of the big takeaways. You're asking the okay. I'll Brother Leroy.
You had your half an hour. What do you think, Leroy? How do you explain this?
What I'm getting is what I'm picking up. You see value in the points made in the Kabbalion, and that is an experience that we get whenever we go into anyone that many of us get when we go into other people's view of the world. In this particular case, 1908, here's a man that's read and come in contact with different cultures and whatnot. He sees something, this is my opinion, because I haven't read it. He sees something that has a universality to it in plate 1, page 7, plate 8, and he puts it together in a book and he gives it a title. The context, that is what group he's from, what's his ethnicity, what's his, quote,
his European
religious faith maybe. He may be in a secret society. It does, but he's actively drawing on information. He puts it in one book. But this is repeated over and over again in our experience when we read, and that's why it's critically important for black people to work with the youngsters to guide them into reading, because they're not getting that in school. Not to get off and digress, the word is that the Department of Education has forbade teachers from talking about the Gaza situation, and that cuts the free flow of information coming back and forth. But anyway, that's another thing. So here's a guy that picks up information, he puts it in a book, but this is happening over and over again. For example, there's a woman, her name is, she's deceased, Catherine Ponder, and her books are based on positive thinking, just like Dale Carnegie and the other guy, Think and Grow Rich. And
Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, they put the information together, but this is done by black folks also. Very, very key, because when we do it, well, when we do it, you can read into why we've done it, in terms of the present tense. No, the Kabbalion, if we go through it, we'll come out with X number of principles that can apply to us. That's what we should be thinking about today.
Yeah.
Not we here, but we collective we. We should be thinking about what are the principles that will get us through what is happening now, and how we get to the future and how we build on that. Their world is going out. We cannot build on the principles that they have utilized to build their society. We just can't do that and be successful, because their world is going out. But it doesn't appear that way, because they're building buildings taller than the Empire State Building. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, he said, they'll be building all the way to the end, to their end, to make you think that they're going to be here forever. So we can't look at them as being here forever. Their system is going out.
Well,
and we will go out with it if we don't make a correction.
The reason
ourselves.
why I bring this book up is that I read this book in the 70s. And I find that all the things I've gone through throughout life, I go back to those basic principles, and it brings some, it's like reading the Bible, you know, and when you want to go back to your substance, you know, how you think mentally. Everything's mental. Now we know what we can perceive, we can achieve. And how you mold your life is to think positive and loving and give off the spiritual energy that's necessary to survive, especially if you're black. So it seems directed towards people that Palestinians are downtrodden, and they're learning the principle that everything is mental, that you can pray your way out of this. You know, what's your mental, what's that?
Wait, oh, you can hear me, but you can't see me, is that the deal?
Yeah.
Okay. You just said about the Palestinians can pray their way out?
Mentally, I mean, not,
No,
I
they
mean,
can't.
I
No,
mean,
they can't. The
but I
damage
mean,
that's being
what I
done to
mean,
those-
what I mean, in suffering, pain, prayer gives you some relief. Not the physical praying your way out of something, but I mean, you can mentally, I mean, you can get so downtrodden that your passion can kill you. You know, if you think there's no way out and there's no change, you destroy yourself. So I'm just saying, praying is a lot of people don't believe in praying. So
If I may interject.
well,
Oh, Michelle is going to speak.
go ahead, Michelle. That was
There's
my
no praying way. The damage that's being done to the people of the people on that part of the world is going to resonate for generations.
right.
It is going to resonate for generations. They are probably some of the most prayerful, committed to God the people you know, because every time they are praying, but that's not changing psychologically what's happening to them and what's going to happen to all the generations that come after them. That's where the real pain is that no one's gonna, when they stop the fighting, it doesn't stop all the death and destruction that these people have witnessed, all the trauma that they now will carry with them to the next generation, all the kids that don't have parents and the parents who have lost kids. The damage is for a long time. But to say prayer is going to fix it is disregarding their humanity. It's disregarding their humanity, because no amount of prayer is going to be able to undo the damage.
Michelle, go ahead.
You want to go? Oh,
No, go ahead.
I'm trying to turn my video on, but I'm finished my thought.
So as I was reading the Kabbalion, if I may, one of the things that resonated with me about the book was it talked about the three planes of existence. The plane of spirituality, physicality, and the mental sort of our mindset, our emotional disposition. And the reality is the people in Gaza, and I always say this, are not just Muslims, they're Christians.
Yeah.
Right? And what is happening to them is no different to what happened to those in the Bible. We know that Christians were persecuted. We know that they were crucified. We know that they were trampled on and beaten. And it's not that prayer solved their immediate issue of being politically stomped out by a government, right? What prayer does is it allows you to understand that no government really has power over your destiny, that your destiny exceeds beyond the revelation of just being in this body, and that your existence is much greater. That the importance is that we fight the system so that the next generation doesn't have to live through the hell that we're going through. Faith is the substance of something that I cannot really hold or grasp, but I understand that my victory is on hand. When I read the Kabbalion, one of the things that came to me biblically was the understanding of what happens in the book of John. The Bible says, as the writer says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. And when Jesus is born, one of the first things that happened, and Graham could back me up here, is that Jesus meets his cousin, John the Baptist. And we know that when you're in the womb, you're not able to read the Jerusalem Times. Jesus didn't have that sort of ability. John the Baptist did not have that sort of cognitive ability. But it says that when Jesus was in his belly and John the Baptist was in the belly of his mother, that they came together, and that John the Baptist, he leaped. Even though cognitively he wasn't mentally there was a revelation on the inside of him that allowed him to understand that the maker of the universe is embodied in the belly right next to me. And so there are times where maybe mindfully I can't understand what's going on, but in the spirit realm I can feel a way out.
Right.
When we go,
something.
Let me just finish this last point, Michelle. When John is now older, he's in the jail. He's going to be beheaded. And he sends a messenger to Jesus to say, are you the one? Because he was in the situation of being, persecuted, and even though he was at a place of being, not knowing, he was an adult, as a child, he already had that revelation. So sometimes we're not going to know cognitively what it is. We have to go by revelation. I'll finish with that.
All right, Michelle, I don't have but a minute.
So your final, what?
Go ahead, finish.
What I'm getting from what you said, Ron, was that the spirit is only one part. It's mind, body, spirit. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. There's more than one part to a person, to a human being. If you do not eat, don't take care of your body, don't do anything, you will die of heart disease. Correct. You can pray all day. You can be spiritually connected to God, and you can say, God's going to heal me. But chances are your body will not stay alive without help, without medicinal support. So I think it is too often that people of color specifically are so plugged into the spiritual part, because that's how they've survived generation after generation, because you have to be plugged into the Creator in order to survive the things that people of color have survived, slavery and Jim Crow and all the things that survived year after year after year. However, our minds have not been fed, because you can't just have trauma and say, well, God's going to fix it. Oh, I'm good. That's discounting the humanity of the people. So
you're right.
While you start quoting the Bible and all that,
I Michelle, I agree with you 110%. Yep.
All right.
But Graham,
we don't have time left.
Graham, what is that statement in Scripture? We war not
against flesh and blood, but against principalities.
Not against flesh and blood, but
and
against
with that,
principalities in high places.
Happy birthday, Michelle.
And faith is of action. It's not
birthday, Michelle.
It's not just praying. Faith is working. Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Michelle. And
Thank
with
you,
that,
Daddy.
the God in me loves the God in you, and stay tuned for more of the Gilchrist Experience.
She has to come
All
back.
right?
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Power
Take
to the
care.
people.
She has to come back.
Hope you got something from this.
She has to come back.
Yeah, brothers. It was good.